Guys, this is really interesting. Did you know that the FBI website actually has a place where you can go and you can look at the top 10 people that they know don't like Indiana Jones? I like Indiana Jones. It's good. We don't have to worry about why it's good and stuff like that. You don't need a 4-hour-long video essay to learn why we can't make good movies anymore. It's really simple. The less limitations that the audience knows the filmmaker had, the less impressive the movie is. In an age where we can do pretty much anything, we can resurrect dead actors, we can create things out of nothing with artificial intelligence. What's to be impressed by? What are you gonna do that's just gonna knock my socks off? Just hang on a sec. More tape. I'm not even impressed by the Marvel movies where, all the characters are genuinely well fleshed out, they get equal screen time, they all have little arcs and stuff like that, and it's genuinely perfectly good storytelling, because I know that they just have a boardroom of writers who do nothing but just hammer that stuff out, just read the comic books, put it on the whiteboard, put it in the Google Drive document, and just, go about it in a kind of decentralized, it's not like an auteur model of filmmaking. It's you have 20 people who get paid tons of money to do one thing, so it's going to come out pretty well. Anyway, that's important for later. Let's talk about Indiana Jones 5. The untitled 5th Indiana Jones film has haunted my dreams. I need to talk about it. By making this video, I'm gonna perform catharsis, and you and I are going to process my psychosis together. So let me give you a quick rundown on Indy 5. The projected release date is June of 2023. It's really not that far away. This is going to be the first Indiana Jones movie not directed by Steven Spielberg and not produced by George Lucas. Directing is James Mangold, who, okay, right off the bat, that's a good name for people who know it, because James Mangold directed Logan. People like Logan. I haven't watched Logan because superheroes, but I hear it's a really great movie, and I believe that. Kathleen Kennedy is still involved. Kathleen Kennedy produced all the previous Indiana Jones movies, as well as a lot of other successful Steven Spielberg movies. So that's definitely a great presence. Keep in mind, of course, this is post-acquisition of Lucasfilm by Disney. So we've got a lot of Disney people that we're not reading about in the Wikipedia article and stuff like that. And of course we have Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is 80 years old. I want you to keep that in mind. I can think of one action star who has made it past 75 still making action movies in a reasonably believable way, and that's Sylvester Stallone. And Harrison Ford is not Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester Stallone has been making movies that address his age. If you haven't seen Rambo: Last Blood yet, Sylvester Stallone is that character in real life, probably. George Lucas and Steven Spielberg had been quarreling over an idea for the next Indiana Jones movie almost right after Indy 4 came out. They wanted to do it right away. Harrison Ford was game too, as long as it didn't take another 20 years to come out with the next Indiana Jones movie. I'm pretty sure we're almost there. We're not that far away from another 20 years since Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out. George Lucas wanted to push things in a new direction. He said, I'm in the future, I have new visionary ideas, but Steven Spielberg is in the past. George Lucas is really great with new visionary ideas, especially like THX 1138 and Howard the Duck and stuff like that. He's very visionary, George Lucas. I don't know why Steven Spielberg feels like he has to make every Indiana Jones movie with George Lucas. But apparently he does, and apparently when George Lucas left the project because of Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm, Steven Spielberg left too. So we have it, once again, we have a Steven Spielberg-less and a George Lucas-less Indiana Jones movie. A lot of people, a lot of notable people wrote scripts for a new Indiana Jones movie. Lawrence Kasdan's son, I think, Jonathan Kasdan, David Koepp, a lot of other people wrote treatments and stuff like that, trying to make their own, ideas. But after James Mangold came onto the project, after Steven and George left, he brought on Jez Butterworth and John Henry Butterworth, which I know nothing about those people, but they collaborated with him on Ford vs. Ferrari, which was like a well-received movie. I'm glossing over decades of production turmoil trying to make an Indiana Jones movie. I mean, everybody wants a new Indiana Jones movie, so you can imagine how frustrating it must have been to come back from Indiana Jones 4 and be like, okay, now what? What are we going to do now? What are we going to do with an 80-year-old Harrison Ford? What are we going to do with probably a pretty unmotivated creative team in George Lucas and Steven Spielberg? Because I'd be surprised if Steven Spielberg really wanted to make another Indiana Jones movie after the last one, because I feel like that was George Lucas really pushing as hard as he could to get what George Lucas wanted, only for it to fail in the eyes of the public. I mean, it's the public opinion would say that George Lucas has ruined that movie with his, his visionary ideas. After all this, production begins in June of 2021. One of the first, bullet points of news on that timeline is Harrison Ford injuring his shoulder during preparation for a fight scene. Everyone on that set was just waiting for Harrison Ford to just fold in half. Okay, in November, they're filming in Morocco, and a camera operator is found dead in his hotel room. Disney, of course, had nothing to say except that his death was not production related. Just to reiterate before we get into this next part here, 20 different writers and a dozen different scripts over the course of several years, for whatever reason, is just never a good sign. Almost never. I mean, it's never a good sign. Sometimes it works out, but it's never a good sign. I mean, any of the huge flops of all time pretty much all have that in common, that just the story just got passed around and around by scriptwriters and different treatments and stuff, production starting multiple times. It never ever bodes well. I'm not saying it can't work, but that's not a good place to start. Disney, bad. Depending on your opinions of Pirates of the Caribbean movies, I wouldn't say that Disney has made a good live-action movie in the last 15 years. The shows they put out are just horrible. I can't stand them. The Marvel stuff, I mean, this is going to come up at least 3 more times in the video. The less limitations you have, the less the audience has to be impressed by. There is a set that has been photographed for Indiana Jones 5, which is themed around the trip to the moon in 1969. Okay, so a portion, if not a majority of this film, takes place in 1969, which is about 12 years before the actual movie Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is set in 1936, actually came out in real life. That's how old Harrison Ford is. We went from 1936, and there's, to be fair, Temple of Doom takes place before that, okay? So you've got, whenever that happened, something like 1930 to 1969 is the timeline for Indiana Jones now. Just the mainline movies. That's not even considering the, young Indiana Jones and all that stuff. I guess there's no point in mentioning any of that. So why did Steven Spielberg step down? Well, Steven Spielberg claimed that his reason for stepping down from the project was that he wanted to pass the film series to a new filmmaker with a fresh perspective. I think that is a cover-up reason to do something. I don't know if it's because George Lucas left and Steven Spielberg just thinks he's married to George Lucas, or what. I don't know. I would be willing to assume that it's got something to do with Mickey Mouse. I think it's got something to do with Mickey Mouse. I think we can blame Mickey Mouse for most of the bad things that happen on the Indiana Jones 5 set, from Harrison Ford hurting his arm to, well, I probably shouldn't say he caused the death of the camera operator. Okay guys, here's the bombshell. It is expected, based upon several photos from on the set of Indy 5, that Harrison Ford will be digitally de-aged for at least portions of the film. Now, I've complained multiple times about Harrison Ford's age, so why should I mind that they're going to, you know, use stuntmen as body doubles and probably project young Harrison Ford's face onto them and stuff like that for parts of the film, flashbacks and stuff like that. Well, I'll say it again. The less limitations the filmmakers have, the less the audience has to be impressed by. But that's not the only reason why de-aging Harrison Ford is gonna be kind of ridiculous. There are Nazi vehicles on the sets of this movie. There are also live Roman soldiers on set, sometimes at the same time. Guys, I think this movie is about time travel. I'm pretty sure that this movie is about time travel, and that Harrison Ford will de-age and re-age during the course of the movie, and that there will be freaking sweet trailers with Nazi trains coming out of wormholes, and oh, it's gonna be so sick, except it's going to suck. Except it's going to look like it's made in the Unreal Engine. Except it's not what makes Raiders of the Lost Ark cool. I'm pretty sure this movie's going to be about time travel. I'm willing. If I show up dead in a Moroccan hotel room, you'll know that this movie is going to be about time travel. This brings me to the crux of this video, which has nothing to do with the actual production history of Indiana Jones 5. I said it before, I've been haunted by this film. When I first learned about Indiana Jones 5, I had a dream. Maybe not that night, maybe it was a couple days later. You don't dream about stuff that's on the front of your mind, you dream about stuff that is in the subconscious that you maybe only thought about once that day. I dreamt that I wanted to watch Indiana Jones 4, but I didn't have the DVD for it. So I looked everywhere, and finally I found a copy in my house, and it said collector's edition with bonus footage, and I said, whoa, I've never seen this before. Popped it into my DVD player. The movie starts. You're out at Area 51 and all that, and they've got Indy and Mac surrounded by by Russians, and then a groundhog comes out of the ground. Several CGI groundhogs came out of the ground and basically created a distraction for everyone in that area to such a point where the movie would not progress past the groundhogs. Like, we would only focus on the groundhogs for like the next 15 minutes. Like, nothing would happen after that point, except unless it had something to do with like dealing with the groundhog problem. And I had to stop the movie. So in the dream, I went to the place that I work, and I found another copy, and I put that in the DVD, and it did the same thing. The plot would not progress past the point when the groundhogs show up. It just kept hanging on the groundhogs for like 20 minutes. So I had to stop the movie. That's a dream. That's nothing crazy. The second dream that I had was more vague. It was actually optimistic, but it was like I got to see every side character in the next Indiana Jones movie, and they were all like kind of comic booky. It was actually cool. It's not even worth mentioning because it was a dream that was optimistic to the point of not being particularly interesting. The most recent dream I had, though, was amazing because I saw the trailer for Indiana Jones 5, and the narrator was like, it was like exactly what George Lucas said. This is a brand new Indiana Jones movie that takes the series in a completely new direction, and then it smash cuts to Indiana Jones hanging off of the strap of his satchel off of a tank, exactly like other movies, or like him getting pulled from the truck, like from the back of the truck, like all of those iconic like action shots that have been in all the movies already, except that he's really old. I realize I'm dissecting a frog here. God, I mean, that's true. That's what it's gonna be like, basically. It's just gonna be the same thing again. It's just gonna be the same thing again with more CGI, less Steven Spielberg, and just less things that I enjoy about Indiana Jones. Think about why you enjoy the things that you enjoy. Like there are intentions, personal intentions behind the media that you like, that I think that is what really boils down to the quality of things, is the intentions of the creators and their ability to make good on their intentions. George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, Lawrence Kasdan were really, really special people. They were a team that worked in a perfect way and produced something that was original, sort of derivative, but extremely original in its concept of bringing back the classic adventure. All of this is just for the sake of conversation, just for anecdotal purposes. Don't get upset about Indiana Jones 5. Don't get upset about Overwatch 2. Don't worry about it, man. You are living somewhere. I don't know if you're living in America. Life is good. Don't ruin it by caring about media. We have what we have, in the past. And if you want to enjoy what we have now, you don't need to criticize it in an effort to make it better. You need to adjust your perspective and do your best to enjoy the media that we have now, or the media that we look forward to today. Even though it's objectively not as good, you can still enjoy it just as much if you adjust your perspective. Now, am I gonna undergo Tibetan monk like mind palace rituals in order to adjust my perspective so that I actually enjoy the next Indiana Jones film, even though I know I'm not gonna like it? Probably not. In fact, if I end up picking up a DVD or something of this movie, I'm not gonna watch it in theaters. If I can get it for free, I'll watch it. I won't like it, but it'll be fun to make fun of. And as long as you're enjoying yourself, as long as you're not in like turmoil about the things that you love, then it's okay to love them. If you think I'm trying to say that I could make a better Indiana Jones movie, absolutely yes, without a doubt. I can beat Mickey Mouse any day of the week. Anyone can.